All right, so let's start this broadcast with the historic and the unprecedented political turmoil that has gripped Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka's main opposition parties on Sunday agreed to form an all-party interim government after the protesters stormed into the presidential secretariat and the presidential palace, forcing the president Gotabaya Rajapaksa to in fact flee. The Prime Minister has now agreed to offer his resignation over the mismanagement of the country's deep economic crisis. Currently, according to reports, there is a bit of a calm that's returned to the streets of Colombo and other parts of Sri Lanka, but on Sunday it was complete pandemonium as the protesters had stormed inside of the presidential palace, and some were even curious while others marvelled at the luxury that was enjoyed by the president. And this is what they were doing: swimming in the president's private swimming pool, working out in the president's private gym, and also testing out the bed that the president used to sleep in. These are the common protesters who decided to storm the presidential palace, and then they took over the presidential palace.
He has already told the speaker that he will resign on 13th. So we will be here till 13th or 14th to see whether he will resign or not. Because we are not we don't trust him anymore, because he has already broken our trust, our country's trust, and he has already sold our country. So we are not in the position to trust him or our Prime Minister at the moment.
We can't trust them. Since independence, since 1948, we trust politicians and we lost everything that we have. So we are not going to trust them. We are stay here until they resign.
The report suggests that the president was rescued by the Navy, rather ferreted away by the Navy, and the president, the strongman Gotabaya Rajapaksa, had to be taken into a naval ship out of the island and into the safe seas to keep him safe. This is the plight that the Sri Lankan strongman president Gotabaya Rajapaksa was in fact reduced to. And along with him, there were quite a few suitcases that were also loaded onto the naval ship as he fled from his home. Now, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has now informed the Prime Minister that he will resign, and Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe has also said that he will step down. Remember, his house too was burnt by the protesters. An interim government will of course take over, and the Prime Minister still, interestingly, in the Parliament holds a majority with 115 seats, but has been requested by several members of Parliament to continue in his post despite the protests. Now, according to the Lankan constitution, the Speaker of the Parliament is expected to lead the political transition to a new government. The Parliament is expected to choose the next president within a span of a month. And according to reports, senior members of Parliament have said that the opposition had agreed in principle to form a government of unity with all parties. But will these politicians be accepted by the protesters is completely a different matter, because the protesters have said that they've lost complete faith in their president, the man that you're looking at on your screens, and also their Prime Minister. Local Sri Lankan media has reported that a decision has been taken to hold a presidential and a parliamentary election before March next year. A stable government is of course critical for the country. It is in the middle of discussions with the International Monetary Fund for an extended lending arrangement. These negotiations, crucial to getting Sri Lanka out of its economic crisis, are now at a standstill. Today, the Prime Minister will also call for a cabinet meeting in the evening and will discuss the fuel shipments and the foreign delegations, which are due to arrive in the country this week. The President Rajapaksa is likely to join the cabinet meeting via a conference. The political chaos in the country, remember, was triggered by the frustration over the worst economic crisis that the country has witnessed since 1948, the year that it became independent. The country has witnessed some severe shortage of foreign currency that has stalled import of essential items such as food, fuel and medicines. Essentially, what has happened is Sri Lanka has run out of foreign exchange, and therefore it can't purchase anything from the international markets. The COVID-19 pandemic hammered the tourism-reliant economy and also slashed the remittances from overseas workers. The situation has been compounded by the large and the growing government debt and also the rising oil prices. And also our correspondent Dasawni Athauda has been out on the streets of Colombo and has been tracking this story very closely for us and has sent us this report. Take a look.
There were meetings that were held specifically yesterday to sort of decide what next happens, given that we now know President Gotabaya Rajapaksa is set to resign on the 13th. Just this morning also, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has officially notified Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, sort of reiterating that he will be resigning on the 13th. Today, towards the evening hours, most likely after 4 p.m. Sri Lankan time, there will be another party leaders meeting that will take place to sort of finalize as to who will be the successor of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. Now, there are two ways that this can go with. Constitutionally, if you look at it, when the president officially signs a letter notifying his resignation, and when that is handed over to the Speaker of Parliament, automatically the Prime Minister who is in power at that time will then become the President. But given the fact at this current scenario that Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe has also made his intention to resign clear in the event the Prime Minister also resigns, and both the posts of Prime Minister as well as President in Sri Lanka are left vacant, the Speaker, who is currently Mahinda Yapa Abeyewardene, is set to take over as the acting president of Sri Lanka.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.